Ayashmas. So today I thought we would have a discussion about seeing. So you're always, taught in Aikido to watch, you know, to observe, to be aware. And I want to talk about your relationship with learning how to see, how you guys see things in the sense of your awareness and how that played a role in your training. And I think that's going to be a good subject that we can tie into a subject that David Heva wanted me to kind of chat about. So we'll go ahead and do some meditation and then we'll have a little talk about that. Okay, gently close your eyes. Okay. So I wanted to talk about seeing and how it relates to just your Aikido training. Now, David I'd asked him, hey, do you have anything you'd like to comment on or cover in the upcoming classes before we end? And he said, oh, Sensei, can you cover Otomo? And although that's been covered extensively, I thought I'd try to take it from a different angle. Um, Curtis Sensei has really two good YouTubes on Otomo. If you just Google Otomo and in YouTube, you'll get a part one and a part two. They're very good, you know. And nobody does it better than him on that subject. But from my perspective and from your guys' perspective, I think it's a good topic to cover. Only because when you start Aikido, people start Aikido for various reasons. I'm sure if we asked everyone why they started Aikido, it's changed throughout their journey. And, in Maui, we tend to practice Otomo probably more than any other place. And that's just because it was such a big part of Suzuki Sensei's training and Curtis Sensei's training. And they've continued to share that practice with us in Maui and in Hawaii Ki Federation. For some of you, Otomo just means humble attendant in Japanese, but it really means, how do you take care of yourself and how do you take care of other people? And, we come into the practice all about me, 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 and then it starts expanding to, oh, I should think about the dojo and how it looks. I should think about, other people, my fellow students. I need to take care of the teacher. I need to take care of things around. And ultimately, you need to take care of yourself, So I think that's a good subject, to discuss because we're talking about, in Aikido training, they always tell you that you have to learn how to see. When Curtis Sensei talks about ki testing, you first have to look at the person you're testing, see them. That's when it first starts beginning. It begins when you see. And I remember one time, just a really quick story before you go into your groups, is there was a student. We were traveling to go to Hilo, I believe, and the student that was going with us from Maui was going to be tested I think it was at the seminar in Hilo. And this is back when you had to take your shoes off and put them through TSA. Everyone took their shoes off because there was no TSA pre. And everyone took their shoes off and it's going over the thing. And I was with Curtis Sensei and he was looking at the student as the person, put on his shoes. He was watching him. How did he put on his shoes? Just watching him. And he just kind of went, oh, he put on his shoes. Okay. And I was just kind of watching that and going, oh, wow, check him out. Because you could see when a teacher is checking another student out. I was observing it, And I just noticed that. And I thought, oh, Curtis Sensei's already begun his test. He's already, the test has begun and the student didn't even know he was being graded. So, yeah, I think that's interesting, and I think you guys will have a good discussion, and I look forward to hearing what you guys say. So, I think Fincher's the person breaking people up, so go ahead, Fincher. So, we're all back. How was your discussion? Any first volunteers would like to discuss?
I'll
Ah,
start,
Fincher,
Cynthia.
sure.
Uh, Not to speak for anybody else, but I think everybody thinks it's just a mystery. Big mystery. We really don't know how to see
You just don't know how to say.
better than we do. You know? No, it was a good discussion because it is sort of a mysterious process of expanding your sight and your awareness. You know, and we talked a little bit about the Atomo and how that represents this issue. And on my part, it was that if we look at this desire to increase our sight, our understanding, and everything else, um, like we look at wanting to be a good Otomo performance or wanting to pass a key test, you know, it, 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 it's the same results. It's very hard to do.
Right.
Um, to say, okay, I'm going to meditate so that I can become aware, you know. And so that's the issue that's really intriguing to me is that this issue of accomplishing something, the desire to accomplish something that prevents you from accomplishing it. That's the mysterious part of it, in my terms anyway. And that on the other hand, when we're told, you just let go. And someone said, maybe Lillian, well, what do you let go of? So it is kind of a mystery. Um, but I just repeat again that the mystery is how to let go of performing and acquiring and achieving, and then that somehow allows you to achieve. I guess that's all for me.
Okay. Well, quite interesting. Um, what when we start. If you think about it this way, when you think about other people, you're thinking about other people. You're not thinking about yourself so much. So like I said, you first have to learn how to take care of yourself and be a good example. And then, of course, then once you have got that understanding, then you can start think about how do I take care of other people. And then it just it's kind of expansion. It's kind of an expansion of your awareness. You know, we practice, meditation, kakudaiho and suchuho, and we practice that expansion and the contraction. And I remember I always ask a trick question to my beginning students. When you breathe in, is that expansion or contraction? And when you exhale, is that expansion or contraction? Which one is it? And I guarantee every time I ask this question to beginning students, 50% say, "Oh, when I exhale, I'm expanding," and the other 50%, "No, when I exhale, I'm actually contracting." Because when you exhale, your body is contracting. But if you think of exhaling as you're sending ki out to the universe, it's expanding. So it's both. But people always try to pick what's right and what's I have to do, and they really, when you start thinking about it, you're just in your mind, you're in your brain. But when you just let go of it, when you just breathe, it's both. expansion and contraction. It's just everything is happening simultaneously, and if when you start, we then bring it. Suzuki Sensei will say, you must hold them, osairu. That's a tomo practice, holding them with your compassion and love. You know, uh, but you don't see it that way. We see it from oh, I'm doing something to that other person, or I'm, putting my awareness out there. So yeah, I can see where you can refer to it as a mystery, but it's actually quite simple as well. So, anybody else?
Hello, Sensei.
Oh yes.
Hey, so we had a really great discussion. It made me, it got me thinking about a whole lot of things. One of the things I've been thinking about for a little while now is, and just kind of something that I know to be true about Otoma training, is that the beneficiary, I think is the word I want to use, the beneficiary of Otoma training is the Otoma. It's not because Sensei needs an assistant. It's more for learning how to serve somebody else. And one of the things I was thinking about in our discussion, and it was talked about a little bit, Fincher Sensei, is just kind of how maybe we're conditioned in the Western world to kind of think about ourselves and not think about other people as much. Our culture isn't outward; it's more inward, and how that's kind of like, you don't, with that mindset, you don't realize how much you get out of serving somebody else. David was talking about how he feels like when he's a tomo, he sees everything in the work in the room, and when he's not, he's just focused on himself. And I was thinking about that, and especially growing up in Hawaii, we're really taught to take care of other people. You go to any luau, and if you serve yourself first, you get cracks. You know, and so I was just kind of grateful for that. But I don't know, that's what I was thinking about during the discussion. It was awesome. Thank you, everybody.
Yeah. Interesting. Yeah, culture. Yeah, people have cultural biases when they look at anything, and culture has a lot to do with it. And the Japanese culture is heavily influences Aikido, and they always are uh, putting the other person first. Not sticking out, uh, swimming with the group. Not being a stick in the mud in the sense of going with the flow. You watch, nobody makes eye contact in Japan when you're walking down big cities because they're super crowded. You look in the subway, same thing. No one's looking at staring people down. It's always a culture of conformity because they have to get along in such a high dense area. And then of course you look at America, which is a very large country, and we have different cultures depending on where you live. And Hawaii being, having to be self sufficient really weighs in on the culture. And yeah, so and that kind of pairs well with Japanese culture, I think, because of the influences and the having the multicultural in Hawaii, with there's no dominant culture in a sense. There's no dominant uh, uh, culture being Chinese, Japanese, Filipino, Hawaiian. So there's no majority. So yeah, that's interesting on how cultures play into it, and how Aikido has evolved with being now all over the world, and how other people adapt it to their culture. And but a tomo practice, when just taking care of somebody. I remember, Reina tells a story about how she went into Sensei's office one day and said, Sensei, I really didn't know what a tomo was until I had a child because it's taking all my time to take care of this child, and that's one aspect of a practice of having that being us. serving other people. And Lynn's not here tonight, but she's the master at serving other people. Suzuki Sensei would say, and Curtis Sensei would say. Um, so yeah, that has a big part of it. So I'm glad you had a good discussion. Anybody else? John, Lillian, David. David.
Yeah. So I guess the scene part first came, yeah, and of course that went through my head, and then I realized majority of the time I'm not seeing anything. I'm only seeing what's right in front of me, and then that led to, well, when I'm feeling a lot and I see more. There's a certain feeling when you might enter a room or a spot or a, and then seeing led to the dojo practice. Like I noticed when I got the opportunity to teach, a lot, not a lot, but enough to where I noticed that I'm actually look at the students more than myself. So it enables you to move a lot more freely because as you're doing the exercise and you're watching everybody else, you see where it's kind of off. Well, am I doing that? Then you see the mirror right in front of you, the glass, you can kind of adjust, and then you see, and then like I can't move that free when I'm just in a normal class, like for whatever reason, I'm stuck trying to think where my foot is or whatever, right? But when I'm teaching it, there's none of that. It's just more free and like I said, most of the time I'm right here. But if I'm otomoing, even if sensei especially, I see the whole room, guarantee. And of course I am performing too because I want to do well for him. But I do see a lot more who's at the door, what's going on. I kind of see a lot more, when that's happening. And then I came to the thought of otomo. Is that really kind of the practice of all of Ki Aikido, is to be that, to ourselves or others, like the way I treat my body is probably not otomo as well as I otomo sensei, that's for sure. So how does that practice really develop yourself to not only for others but yourself too, in a sense, but not the keiko way of thinking of yourself, but that's sort of I was tossing around before, and even tonight I was like on scene, definitely narrowed in when I'm not taking care of someone else, for instance, but something like that.
Yeah. And physiologically, when you're tense, you can't see. Because when you're all tensed up, if you've got a lot of stress going on, you can't really see. You have to be completely relaxed, keeping one point, and extending your ki. I mean, we're only practicing one thing, but we tend to break it up. We break up our practice into, okay, this is otomo practice. This is Aikido practice. This is Oneness Rhythm Taiso practice. This is but we're all practicing the same thing. The same thing's being taught, and you're learning in the same environment. We just don't think that. You think, oh, I have to do this in order to get better at that. No, you don't. They choke themselves because they might have a little preference of, oh, if I just do this, this will make me better at this. No. It doesn't work that way. Right. We were just practicing. It's consistent practice the whole time. So it's just a matter of how are you, and that falls back into, last week's discussion when we were talking, do you take your practice into your meditation or your meditation into your practice, and it's both, of course. That's what we're doing. It's not one or the other. So, yeah. Good.
Thank you, Sensei.
Yeah, thanks, Steve.
On another note, an interesting story is Sensei had his knee surgery, right?
Yeah.
And he'd go to the bathroom when I was home, and I'd follow him, And then, how do you know that? Then Lynn overheard me. Oh, because I had to watch my grandma at the parties, And then Lynn just laughed and laughed and laughed. But it's true. I'm just saying, like I have to take care of that matriarch. You better be on it, or
Right.
It's the way it is. So that's just, yeah.
Good. Anyway. Thanks. Anybody else? John, Lillian.
Aloha, Sensei. I was a little bit all over the map when with this discussion because uh, the seeing when we're taught on the map to watch,
Mhm.
you as beginners, we're always trying to put band-aids on a burst, artery. As a teacher, you go, okay, what's this? What is this? What did you see? And of course, it's all these little piddly things. And then we turn around and go to a seminar, and even though you may be advanced, or more than a beginner, Curtis Sensei asks the same thing, what do you see? And we're all throwing out weird answers, and I guess it's just, I think the more open we are and being open to letting go of all that other stuff and not looking with our eyes and looking with our body, but just listening and connecting and being open with our whole being, you know, and that's just sort of where it's not quite how I expressed it in the group, but that's kind of, I guess, how I was able to pull my thoughts together while everybody talked. Because everybody, when John comes up, as soon as he said the five blind guys, I knew where he was headed, and I was laughing. So anyway, yeah, great subject about seeing. So that's my 5 cents.
Good, good. Yeah, I mean, people don't look at it from that aspect, I don't think. I mean, I've not heard it that way, but, seeing is a tonal practice. It just is. That's just that's what it comes down to. I thought it'd be interesting to break it down that way. Okay, John, or.
Yeah, hi Sensei. Yeah, I was thinking about this as part of how seeing, I mean, Aikido affected my seeing, and yeah, I talked about like how, well, what it brought up was like the the five blind men basically, observing the elephant and just seeing, I mean, just feeling a part of the elephant and stuff like that. But in a sense, our senses kind of deceive us, even if we can see the elephant, you know, um, we're not all seeing the same elephant, or we're seeing parts of the elephant or something. So, uh, as far as the Aikido training goes, though, I feel like it's better equipping us to see the bigger picture of the elephant, and also being able to see myself better, more like clearly.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Yeah,
that's how I.
Odd Vogels told the story when he came here. Odd Vogels and his family, Toby and all them, came to Maui, and we had a little party. Odd Vogels stood up and told the elephant story and the five blind men, and kind of related it to how he sees Aikido now and how he didn't before and how Sensei helped him. And yeah, that's a good story and a good observation there. And another thing, it's Sensei's always saying, just turn the light on. And then you can see. If it's really dark, you need to turn the light on. And that's kind of what our training does. It helps us, illuminates things bigger, 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 so you can see more and more and more. And then you think back and you go, oh my God, I absolutely knew nothing. What I was doing, I was a bumbling, and that I only speak for myself because that's how I look at myself when I was just starting out in Aikido and being, wanting to do everything and, being crushed if I made a mistake, and beating myself up, that kind of thing. So yeah, it's not you don't want to get stuck on that. You just want to be able to, everyone's going to make mistakes. Everyone's going to go through growth spurts, and remember, it's not when you're on a plateau, it's going to be your training goes up and then plateaus, up and then plateaus, up and then plateaus. So you're not going like this. It's actually just you may be in a plateau, and then you're going to see your growth, and then you're going to have a plateau, and that's how it works out for us. So it's a slow but sure path. That's what we like to say. Just got to keep the momentum going. Create momentum and just keep going in that aspect of growing and developing. So yeah, thanks. Anybody else? I think we have one person. Is there one person left? I don't know. Melly is gone. Jack. I think everybody's gone.
Lucky, I
Oh,
think
I
Lucky
have
has to
something.
say something. Yeah?
okay.
I
Yeah,
have
he doesn't
not.
come up on my thing yet.
Hello, Sensei.
Hi.
I was just saying that I like the fact that with Otomo, the training it's not searching for one specific thing. It's the training is to kind of open your eyes and look for everything or anything. It's not to fulfill one need; it's to fill any need that the sensei or Otomo for has. And I don't have much experience with it besides folding Hakama, which. So, I guess I don't have a ton to say about it, but
Right.
that's all I really had said.
Right. I remember one time Lynn was going, all Otomo thinks he needs to do is light your cigars and fold your hakama. And that's not Otomo at all. And you know, it was quite funny, and Lynn was completely right, you know, because we, you know, when you get one perspective of what the Otomo does, you think that's what it is, but actually the teacher is the ultimate Otomo in the sense, and he's actually Otomoing you, and you don't even know it, but you think you're doing so much for the teacher, but actually it's the other way around. And people have a big misunderstanding when it comes to that. And it's really interesting to watch the, I would say, the dance of Otomo to the teacher, and because that's kind of what it is. They're kind of like this in a sense, you know. It's like a really good Kado de Kosadori Kokyunage in a sense, you know. So yeah, that's always something to strive for. And like, you know, David said, is there anyone, you know, that's is are we the only ones practicing Otomo? And yes and no. And we emphasize it a lot in our training. You know, there are other styles of Aikido and other disciplines that have that kind of relationships, but we tend to emphasize it here on Maui and in Hawaii specifically. So, any other comments, questions, concerns? If not, I think everyone has given their 2 cents worth, and thank you all very much. Domo arigatou gozaimasu. And I'll look forward to seeing you all next Friday. Thanks.